So Ken, thanks for doing this. Last time I saw you was on the set of your recent music video, The Smashing Stuff Up, and you were running through closets and throwing toasters through windows. And it makes me wonder, how are you managing quarantine life?
We're seeing the future, I suppose, because that was, at the time, that song was more just, I don't want to say tongue in cheek, a bit about like when you were a kid. You know, at least when I was a kid, you might, if you were mad at someone or whatever, you might have, you know, got it out of your system physically. And as an adult, you know, you got to behave. But it was not, you know, based in reality. And boy, you know, fast forward a few months, and there's days that I'd like to smash my own home up. But no, it's all good. That was a fun video to make. And that's the best thing about being in a band. You get to, I mean, I'm 51 years old and I get to act like I'm 12, you know, so.
Yeah, you look like it wasn't too much of a hard struggle for you to get back into your tap into that teenage brain, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, music keeps you young, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, speaking of that, that's a good segue. This pandemic has hit the music industry pretty hard. You know, I think I've heard the phrase people say the first to close, you know, maybe the last to open. What are you hearing amongst, you know, your colleagues and friends and people in the music industry? How are people hanging in there?
I mean, I definitely think first to close, last to open is right, especially for a band of our nature that, you know, encourages people to be all up on top of each other, climbing over each other, sweating, you know, shouting the words. And one of the things that the public might not know when they think about it is that we have a lot of planning that goes into a tour, in the sense that there's so much touring in the world that there is this total backlog of available dates. This is on a normal time. You know, sometimes our manager would call and say, for example, if it was now, this is in normal times, you know, I want to talk to you about some dates in 2022. And I'm like,
wow.
You know, and that's just because there's so many bands touring and stuff. Once we get the green light, then to be able to schedule the dates and find the availabilities is going to be tough. And then you probably have to plan for a factor of maybe even when things are open, who's to say that 100% of your audience will feel comfortable to come back? So you probably play to lesser crowds, you know, so it's this. You know, I think the only way to handle this whole thing is one day at a time. Because if you start worrying about, you know, my mother has a hair salon, and she talks, you know, worries about all the girls that work for her in the business. I said, Mom, at the end of the day, the only thing we got going for us, if you're in a tent living under a bridge, I'll be right there beside you. You know, we're all kind of in the same boat for the most part, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a good philosophy. I think you're right. If you think too much about 2021, 2022, it'll drive you crazy. You know, no matter what you do, you know, I think that's good advice for everybody. So Ken, talk to me a little bit about going backwards I want to hear about your live stream coming up at Fenway, which sounds amazing. But in the month of March, I was thinking of you guys in terms of, I know at my workplace, everything was kind of shutting down mid-March or that second week. And you guys were about to head into what's kind of one of your biggest times of the year, was St. Patrick's Day. And you guys did a really cool, really fast kind of pivot with the live stream. Like, how did that all break down?
That week was just intense because people are emailing us. Are you sure? A lot of people are even traveling about, are your shows still on this weekend? And I'm saying, I don't know. We're trying to decide whether it's right to cancel, even if we don't have the orders from the state and city, and trying to juggle the whole thing. And then we decided to cancel. We didn't want to be part of like some massive spread, you know, and so we canceled it. And then the next day the state canceled it anyway. So I think that was on Thursday. And so on Friday, we started to talk about, well, what if we did a live stream, which had been something we've wanted to do for a long time anyway, because for a lot of fans around the world, you know, seeing us in Boston on St. Patrick's Day is like, you know, kind of a pilgrimage they talk about making. But obviously a lot never will be able to. So even in normal times, we have been trying to get our act together to stream it live. And I think that's something that'll come out of this probably, is that even when things go back to normal, people will be way more clued in to say, we actually need to think of the good that came out of this, and think that even when there is an audience, there's a much larger crowd, you know, that would be interested in the stream. So
you guys did an amazing job. The performance was very authentic. And also tell me, like, you guys raised a ton of money. Is that right?
Yeah, it was all happening so fast to get it going that wasn't even till like that day we were like, we need a text to donate number. We need to raise some money here. And yeah, we raised a lot of money for charity. And I think that this one coming up will have even more of a charitable impact because we've got some corporate donations already.
You guys have always been so good about doing that throughout your whole career, I think, is tying the band to helping people out and springing quickly to action when things happen in the city. So kudos to you guys for just kind of keeping that up. And tell me a little bit more about what's happening on Friday, right?
From a morale standpoint, Fenway epitomizes summer to us here, and to be able to go into the park and show the field to the people, like you might think that I'm singing, but in my head, I'm going to be charging a ground ball, thinking I'm Butch Hobson or something. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say. You guys could have done a parking lot. You could have done, lots of places, but I know you're a huge fan, and like that must be extra meaningful to be on the infield because you've played there before.
Yeah, but never we played there many times in many ways. We played on top of the dugout. We played over the bullpen. We played in center field. We played in right off the on deck circle. We've done a lot of things, but nobody's ever played in the infield because if the season is even remotely going, I don't care if they're on a 10-day road trip, the grounds crew is not letting you on that diamond because they need to protect the integrity of that mound and the dirt and everything.
Sure.
But obviously this is different because there's not a game looming, tomorrow or whatever. So they've been extra kind to let us in the field. So we'll be actually kind of in the positions of the infield, which will, I think, make it the distance feel less strange because it kind of has a purpose, the infield.
Natural shape that way, sure.
People said, what's it going to be like without an audience? And I said, listen, Fenway Park's the best audience you can get. I don't care if there's anyone in it or not. Yeah,
just the place itself is like a cathedral. That's great, man. So, and then you've got this kind of up and coming artist, Bruce Springsteen, that's helping you guys out a little bit.
I think it's important to give people a shot, let them get their name out there. Yeah, he's just, I could go on for a half hour about Bruce. He's been, at such a high level for so long, yet remain so humble and so down to earth and so approachable and so down to help a charitable cause. And it's just, I think every athlete should have to meet Bobby Orr and see how he conducts himself. And I think every musician should have to meet Bruce Springsteen because, when I think of some of the pompous little shits I've met, in music that think that they're the next Elvis Presley and act as such, you meet a Bruce Springsteen and you say like, God, could this be more opposite what some of the people in music are like? And anyway, I'll end my rant there, but he's the best.
No, that's great to hear. He's one of my personal favorites, as I feel like he should be for everybody.
And the thing about that's so important about Bruce now, if if Aerosmith or some like rock band isn't what you thought they might be personally, like it's like, yeah, it's rock. It's like, it doesn't matter. But like Bruce with his lyrics, if he was ever not that guy, it would ruin it, and I can attest that he's that guy and then some. So
my last question before I let you go is just talking baseball. What's your thoughts as a fan? If they're talking Major League may come back possibly in July, they're trying to work out the details. I assume no fans, of course, at stadiums. What's your reaction to that as a fan, imagining watching baseball with empty, bleachers with home runs getting blasted into empty stands?
It's all strange times, but I think that you give the public at home anything to watch live. Yeah. Like, if badminton came back live, I'd be watching it. So I know I'll be watching baseball. Is it ideal? No, especially baseball, because there's something about baseball. Like, let's face it, the game's a little slower than a lot of the things. It's just like kind of nice weather and people are in the stands and they're having a hot dog and it's all part of the deal.
It is. So yep, I agree.
It's a little more odd maybe, but I've watched everything on Netflix and I know that watching the news is driving me up a wall. This really shows what sports does, music in sports does for people to give them something to do and something to, look forward to.
Yeah, we could all use it. I agree. That music is kind of good for the soul. So Ken, thanks so much. I'll let you go, but good luck on Friday and keep doing what you guys are doing.
Thanks so much. Good to talk to you, bud.